Okay, so I like to pretend that you all come to hear me, but I know you don't. You came here today to hear Terrie Rizzo. Terrie is the chair of the Florida Democratic Party. She is phenomenal. She spends her life driving up and down Florida. She has met with virtually every DEC, perhaps all of them by now, because each and every one matters to the state of Florida. Terrie is why we're going to turn Florida blue. 29 as a host, I think this is your second time, third time? Second time. We love her. You're going, those of you who haven't heard her, you're in for a treat. Terrie?
The reason we're going to win Florida is because of you. Hello, Villages Democrats. Hello, Villages. This is the year we have been waiting for, is it not?
Yeah.
This is the year we can get rid of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
With you, absolutely thrilled. I look around this room and I am energized. Look at all of you who are here. This is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to bring official greetings from the Florida Democratic Party, from Mike Coleman, who is the chair of the campaign committee, and he's my vice chair in Palm Beach County. And Mike and I came up because we wanted to be with you. You are doing such a phenomenal job here. Kathy Hardy, you are phenomenal. Excuse me. Chris Stanley. All right, Chris Stanley. Kathy Hardy's over there. Do we have someone here from Marion County? No, we're Marion County. Yes, thank you all very much, and everybody. Anyway, Chris Stanley, I want to thank you for the wonderful job you're doing. You are phenomenal. If it was up to me. Okay. So thank you so much. I want to thank everybody here from Sumter County, from Marion County, from Lake County. I would say, did I just say Lake? I said Lake County because you all are so critical to all of us. And I especially want to thank my precinct captains. If you're a precinct captain, stand up, please. Precinct captains. Team here, everybody here is absolutely critical to the effort to win. This is the year we've all been waiting for. I want to thank you, first of all, for what you did last year in 2018, before we get into anything else. What did we do last year in 2018?
77.78% of the Democratic vote.
That is absolutely phenomenal. You led the state in Democratic turnout for a time. You led the state for counties of your size. If every small county, if every county had done what you had done, we would have a Democratic governor and a Democratic senator. And your votes, you elected a agriculture commissioner, our first cabinet officer since 2006. You elected Nikki Friedman. It's phenomenal what you accomplished. We know how tough it is here. We know you're outnumbered, but you are standing strong. You work, you make the state proud, and we are proud of you, and I'm here to say thank you. It is absolutely critical. And now, we're 9 months out from the most important election of our lifetime, right? And I don't know about you, but I would crawl upon broken glass. I would walk across burning coals. I would do absolutely anything to make sure that we elect a Democratic president and get rid of Donald J. Trump. And as we said, this is the most important election, certainly of our lifetimes, and it probably is the most important election since 1864. Since the election in the Civil War when Abraham Lincoln won. Our country is facing a critical turning point. It is absolutely, and we don't have to go into all the reasons why. We saw it this week. We saw in each and everything that happened this week why it is so important that we not have Donald Trump for 4 more years, because our country can't take it. You know, everything is being destroyed. So we must do everything. And the key to stopping Donald Trump is right here in the state of Florida. The Republicans know, and Donald Trump knows, he cannot win the presidency without the state of Florida. There is no path for the Republicans without the state of Florida. Our job is to make sure he doesn't get us. Our job is to make sure that our 29 electoral votes go to a Democrat. Our job is to get out the vote like never before. And we know Florida has a history of close elections, don't we? Not just a 1% state anymore, not a 0.5% state, we're a 1/4% state. And we actually won, and I want to remind everybody in this room what we did last year. You got Nikki Fried elected, our first cabinet officer since 2006. That's amazing. We picked up 2 congressional seats down in Miami-Dade to help flip Congress and make sure what happened in this past week. We added to that. We picked up 3 county commissions in the state. Miami-Dade, Hillsborough, and Orange county commissions got flipped, making the 5 largest counties along with Palm Beach and Broward in Democratic hands. That's significant because things happen when you have Democratic county commissioners in control and helping pass Democratic legislation, which are critical. Really important. We elected the largest legislative delegation since 1998 to Tallahassee. Since 1998. It's still not enough. They picked up state house and state Senate seats to make us the largest legislative delegation. Still not enough. We got work to do because our Democrats can't win when push comes to shove up there. But we're making things happen and making changes. And we also passed Amendment 4. Now there's work to be done on that, but ultimately, and it's going to be worked out, people who are returning citizens will have the right to vote. And a lot of them already do. And as everybody knows, 2 heartbreaking losses. Bill Nelson lost by 10,033 votes. 10,033. Andrew Gillum lost by 32,000 and change. This year, we need to put in place what we need to do to make sure that we're on the other side of that this year and that we win and take back the state of Florida, because as we said, it is absolutely critical that we do so. So how do we do better, everybody? How do we do better so that we take the state of Florida? Well, first of all, we build off what we did well. What did we do well that got us to where we were last year? Because last year we had record Democratic turnout in the state of Florida. All right? What worked? Well, we analyzed it. We took a look at all the things that worked well. First of all, what really worked well was vote by mail. Right? And we talked about that in the importance of the ballots. Now, we don't want to mail them in right now, but ultimately we want to get them in. Right? And we want most people to vote by mail. Vote by mail, and especially targeting people who are occasional voters, who are the ones who are not as likely to vote in every election, and making sure they get a vote by mail ballot in their hands is one of the reasons that we picked up several 100,000 votes last year, over 500,000 votes, who would not have normally voted in an off-year election and did because we got a vote by mail in their hands. That's one of the reasons we helped elect Nikki Fried also, was getting that record number of vote by mails out. That worked well. This year we're going to double down and do that even harder. So that's one thing. Secondly, expanding the field and working in all 67 counties. We know every county is important. We no longer can count on just the big blue counties. It's important that every county participate to the maximum degree. So the 67 county strategy worked. And what's our goal? It's simple. The goal is, we know you can't win in some of these red counties. In other words, the votes just aren't there. But to lose by less, narrow the margins across the Panhandle, for example. Narrow the margin and lose by less in most of those counties. And in the swing counties, flip the swing counties. Make sure we get out the Democratic vote. Add more Democrats to the polls and flip the swing counties. And then in the big blue counties like Palm Beach, where I'm from, run it up. Make sure we get out as many votes, maximize our votes, and run it up in the big blue counties. And that's the strategy. The 67 county strategy worked last year. We need to work it even harder. So we're going to double down on it, and we'll talk about ways to do that in just a minute. So vote by expanding the field. And also, don't concede red territories. Run candidates in every election possible. Make sure we have Democratic candidates running to give choices to voters. And we will win some of those seats. And when we have candidates in seats, even in the tough districts, the Democratic candidates bring out Democratic voters, and we elect more Democrats that way. So those are the kinds of things that worked last year. That's how we got some of the largest legislative delegation in Tallahassee, because we contested seats and won them. So that's what we're going to do and double down. But what can we do to improve on that? So the analysis, and taking a look at it, there are a couple things that we added in terms of the Florida Democratic Party. Number one, first and foremost, really critical, is voter registration. Have you heard this before? Have you heard this before about voter registration? It is really critical. The last time the Democratic Party as a party concentrated on voter registration was the Obama years. All right, and I see a lot of heads nodding on here. The last time the party as a party, that doesn't mean voter registration didn't happen. It did. It just wasn't a focus of the party. And the party focused on more organization, more doing other things, but not voter registration. And slowly, Democrats lost the margin and lost the edge that we had in terms of voter registration across the state, in some counties and also across the state. So this is, and over the period of time, for example, when Hillary Clinton came in 2016, she found that when the campaign came in, they had to concentrate on registering voters rather than organizing initially. So lost time in terms of getting out, in terms of actually campaigning. It's really important that we focus on voter registration. Ran the numbers, did the analysis, and we found that the Democratic Party needs to register 200,000 voters by the primary, the August primary, not this one, but by the August primary, in order to have the numbers we need. And having the numbers we need, particularly in key districts. In districts that are, for example, lean Republican, adding a certain number of votes will take that to a toss-up. In some districts, which are toss-ups, we can adding a certain number of votes will take it to a lean Democrat. And in districts that are lean Democrats, adding a certain number of votes will take it to a safe Democratic seat. So doing the numbers and running the analysis, does this all make sense to everybody? And so it is not only comprehensive, but it's strategic. And so we're focusing efforts on getting voters registered everywhere, because everywhere is important for the 67 county strategy, but particularly in swing districts. A lot of those swing districts are across the I-4 corridor. A number of them are in South Florida, in Miami-Dade, and they're all over the state. But you get the idea. Adding voters to the rolls, and particularly where it matters to help swing those districts, and protect some of our districts too. For example, Debbie Mercarsel-Powell. Debbie Mercarsel-Powell was one of the Congress people that was elected in Miami. She is in a very tough district. She didn't win by a lot. She just won by a couple thousand votes. And she is vulnerable. And the Republicans are going to come after her. They've already recruited a very, very top-level candidate to come after her, and they're going to spend tons and tons of money. So it is important that we, as Democrats, register voters in her district and do everything we can to protect her seat in Congress. So that's the kind of thing we're doing with voter registration. It is absolutely key. And how are we registering voters? Well, the Florida Democratic Party, developed a massive plan to do a voter registration in any number of ways. And we had massive investment. For the first time ever, the party is investing, we've invested actually $3 million this past year in terms of voter registration in a variety of ways. Organizing Corps, getting college kids on campuses doing organizing. And I should have said, with regard to the voter registration, not just in swing districts, but we're also targeting Hispanics, African American, and youth voters, because those are areas that where we need to increase our numbers, and so we're targeting those areas for voter registration as well. So Organizing Corps was by developing our own ingrown home organizers and training them and putting them in the field now, not next year or this fall, during the campaign, but actually last year. So hiring organizers and putting them out in the field. Campus organizers, getting kids on campus and training them and paying them stipends to work on the campuses. Doing various kinds of voter registration outreach and engaging the community like you and getting the club and getting all of you involved in voter registration. It is absolutely key to do this. So voter registration is something that is very, very critical. And has it been working? Let me tell you what has happened. I want to tell you what the results are. And first of all, why the Florida Democratic Party? Why should the party be doing this? All right. Number one, the party can register voters much more effectively and much more cheaply than other organizations. The average cost to register a voter with all organizations is $21 a voter. C3s and C4s in Florida are averaging $25 to $30 for voter registration. The party can register a voter, all things considered, for $18 or less. All right, so we get the biggest bang for your buck when the party does voter registration. So when the party invests and does it, we register for less. This is the biggest bang for the buck. And we are also the only organization in Florida, besides the Republican Party, who can register partisanly. We can register wearing our Democratic t-shirts. We can talk about values. When the League of Women Voters registers voters, for example, they have to do it in a nonpartisan fashion and take all voters who register. The Democratic Party can focus on and concentrate on registering voters in more districts where we can target more Democrats, where Democrats are likely to be. We can wear our Democratic t-shirts and talk about what it means to be a Democrat, and it's important to do that. And we do this in particular districts. And what have the results been so far? Well, let me tell you, we started this program in June of this past year, more than a year out of the election. So far, in 1919, I have the results through January, 63% of the voters registered by us are Democrats. And only 9% of the voters that we registered, because we have to take everybody, of course, only 9% were Republicans. Right, so that is exceptionally good. It is exceptionally good. We had a 7-to-1 ratio, which is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Leaps and bounds ahead of any other organization, and League of Women Voters, any other C3s or C4s. So when we register, we're registering mostly Democrats, which is great. In the first quarter of 2019, before the party started the operations, before that, the average number of registrations done by the party, which would be kind of equivalent to what was normal before that, was about 9 voter registrations a day. We're talking statewide, 9 voter registrations a day. In the second quarter, when we had started to ramp it up a little bit, we increased the voter registrations to 28 registrations a day, statewide. The program really got underway in June, all right? So by the third quarter, the ramp up had started. We had hired organizers, we had the college, the organizing corps going, and a number of other programs that we were doing. And the registration numbers, we were up to 105 voters a day in the third quarter, all right? And in the fourth quarter, which is notoriously bad because the holidays are in the fourth quarter, we've averaged 123 voters a day, all right? And we're happy to announce right now that the ramp up is continuing. So far, we've already registered over 1,500 voters in February, which is up to 200 voters a day. So it is incredible. In terms of the numbers, we are on track to get our 200,000 by August of this year. So if we keep it up, the ramping it up. So we're also targeting younger populations and minority populations, the voters that we need. And it's working. 41% of all the voters that have been registered, wait till you hear this, are between the ages of 18 and 24. Whoa. 56% are below the age of 34. More than half are below the age of 34. 34% of all voters are African American and 23% Hispanic. So showing that so we are on track, but we need to keep the effort up, and we know that you're doing great voter registration here too. I was hearing this morning about some of the numbers, you know, that in terms of voters registration, and we're getting what I'm starting to see now are flips. From Republicans to Democrats, you know, a lot of Republicans can't take it anymore either, you know, and they're recognizing that they're going to register as Democrat. And I hear that you're seeing some of that here too. Is that right? Which is great. I was going to ask, are there any people here who are in that category, but I won't. All right. You can come on and tell me afterwards. That'd be great. Okay. Now, the second thing, what else can we do in addition to registering voters to augment our numbers? What else can we do differently? What else can we do that will help? Well, voter protection is something that's really critical. Protecting the vote and trying to fight voter suppression, because we know the Republicans suppress the vote 365 days of the year, 180 times all the time. So what we're doing is in the last election, we saw the debacle around the recount. We saw the voter suppression efforts that occurred, and we know what the Republicans are doing nationwide. So we hired, and I'm very proud to say, we were the first state party in the country to institute a voter protection program and hire a full-time voter protection director to run the program. You've seen him, Brandon Peters, who's the head of our voter protection program, who is putting together voter protection teams in all the counties. We have our, and you've heard about this, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but we put up a voter protection hotline last June, July, it actually went live in the very beginning of July, the first full-time voter protection hotline where voters who have any questions about voting at all can call. Now normally, for those of you who might not know, normally those go up about the time of the primary, the real primary, in August. And usually the voter hotline will go up sometime around July of an election year. We put ours up July of the off year so that voters can call in with questions. And we've gotten, we get tons of questions. The most common question relates to Amendment 4, and we're able to direct those returning citizens to the appropriate people to call or provide them advice. But there are lots of other questions relating to voter protection that come in. And so having that hotline, which is staffed by attorneys and volunteers, is important. And anybody here who would like to volunteer for that, please identify yourselves, because it's important to add to the folks. And I know you have a voter protection team. Chris, is that you who's leading the voter protection team? See Chris Stanley over here. Oh my God, Chris Anderson. I told you I'm terrible with names. Okay. I told you I'm terrible with names. All right. All right, so voter protection is actually absolutely key, and we've also been involved in some of the legal cases too. So it's not just active, voter protection teams with the counties and putting together, the work to set up teams for the election. We are expecting to see massive voter suppression efforts on the part of the Republicans, intimidation at the polls. Doing everything as possible. So our voter protection teams and having poll watchers, trained poll watchers and poll workers is going to be critical. So that's one thing that Brandon is working, and you all are working on as well. And we also have been involved in some of the lawsuits. Some of you may have heard or read about the lawsuit about ballot order in the state of Florida. For those of you who are not from the state of Florida originally, you may not know that the order on the ballot that you receive has been, by using the party of the governor listed first for every race on the ballot. So the incumbent governor's party on every race was listed first. So for the past 20 years, the Republicans have been listed first on the ballot for every single race on the ballot. Well, with the DNC and the FDP, we filed suit against that, challenging the ballot order. Because in fact, data now shows and research shows that the order of the ballot, by going first on the ballot, has up to a 3 to 5% bump in voting. 3 to 5%. And we had the statistics and the data to show it. So we won. And so and if we go back to what we talked about before, when you lose a race by less than 0.25%, and the other guy got an automatic 3 to 5% by going first, that counts, that matters. So by winning this lawsuit, now what's going to happen has yet to be determined. So but it will be coming in soon, because I think it's next month that they have to decide and determine what the ballot is. It may be alphabetical, it may be flip of a coin, whatever it's going to be. It won't be the governor's party listed first every time anymore because of that lawsuit. That's what I'm going to do. So those are the kinds of things too. Reaching out to core constituencies and doing more communications, We've developed numbers of programs with the African American and Hispanic and Haitian communities in terms of outreach. Increasing communications is key. We've developed a Hispanic language radio program out of Miami called Democracy Al Dia on Saturdays at noon. It's going to go on in just a couple hours. Broadcast live to all of South Florida and available on podcasts, by podcasts everywhere in Spanish, talking about events of the week in Spanish and reaching the Hispanic community. We're working to set up press conferences with our legislators in particular, and reaching various segments of the Hispanic and African American communities, and working across Florida, in terms of outreach, again, to our key targets, Hispanics, African Americans, and young voters who need to increase their numbers this year. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing. And something you may not have heard about, we also realize that it's important to build the bench. Remember, when more candidates run, when more Democratic candidates run, more Democrats come out to vote. So we started something called the MVP program, the Municipal Victory Program, to recruit and train candidates to run, particularly for local offices, and build the bench so that folks can move up to state house seats and other seats. And also train lots of campaign volunteers as well. So the MVP program has been moving around Florida doing training sessions. And we've already had 5, starting with the Panhandle, where over 70 people showed up for the MVP training. In the Panhandle, Jacksonville, we've done Duval in Jacksonville, done Hillsborough, we've done in Tampa, done Orange County and Orlando. Today, actually, after I leave this, I'm going back to Palm Beach because there's an MVP training there in Palm Beach. Going to be in Miami-Dade, and ultimately there will be one up here because it's going around the state, training people for free and providing advice and giving access for candidates to develop their programs. So it's really critical. It's called the MVP program, to build the bench. So all of this stuff is going on. The state party has raised a record amount of money this past year in order to invest and build programs. We actually have raised $6.5 million, which is more than double ever that a state party has ever done in an off-year election, to build the kinds of things that we believe we need to do to help make up the difference and get us over the hump. So that is so critical, and thanks to all of you for volunteering and helping us do this as we go through. By registering more voters and vote by mail, to ensure that more voters are engaged, especially our core constituencies, to remind voters continually what our values are, that we're Democrats, what we stand for. We can't just run against Donald Trump, can we? It's not enough. We have to tell people who we are and what our values are and why people should be Democrats. And so by doing this, your outreach in the community, what you're doing here through the Villages Democratic Club, through the precincts, going out on knocking doors, making calls, sending postcards, doing everything that we can to reach our core voters and get them out, to make sure that the occasional voters come out this year, and to reach out and flip Republicans and NPAs and convince them why they should be Democrats. All of this is absolutely critical. Engaging and letting people know about the truth. We are Democrats. We stand for wonderful things for people. We are for the people and not for just the 1%. And we will make change. Am I right? Your help, with each and every one of you in this room working, we are the team that's going to win. We must do so. And I'm going to ask you to take a pledge. Raise your right hand. Now I've got my left. Now some of you, I think, have done this before, so you will be renewing your vows. For others, you are taking it for the first time. I would like you to repeat after me. I am a proud Democrat.
I am a proud Democrat.
I will work to elect Democratic candidates.
I will work to elect Democratic candidates.
I will do everything necessary.
I will do everything necessary
Our country is facing great challenges.
Our country is facing great
And
challenges.
our values are being tested like never before.
Our values are being tested like never before.
But I will work my fingers to the bone.
I will work my fingers to the bone.
And if we work together,
If we work together,
if we work together,
if we work together,
if